All right, call it in the air.
Tails.
It's heads.
Hey.
Hey, I finally won one.
You changed it up.
You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Mike.
And I'm Justin.
And this is episode 80, the Fourth Unleashed. But we're going to call it the Japanese name, as we've done with these free picks. Tokihanata Reta Daishi.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I finally won one.
You did. This is gonna mess everything up for the rest of my life.
So, for those of you who are either first-time listeners or listening on this being your first free picks episode, we are doing free picks, and to start off every free picks episode, we flip a coin to determine the order for who introduces the episode and whose track plays first. Mm-hmm. So previously, Justin had won every single coin toss, and this is the first one that I've won. So that means that what? I'm evens now, and you're odds.
Right. Yeah. Since day one, since episode 1, you have been on the odds, and I've been on the evens.
That's right.
I won the toss on 20, 40, and 60.
That's right.
And now, 80 episodes in, you finally have your day.
I want to thank my mom, and Joy in the Dark, and Simon Belmont, and you know what? Donkey Kong. Let's throw and my wife, my kids.
David Wise.
Sure. Yeah. Anyways, so the track that we came in on is from a game called El Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron. And this came out on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 in 2011. This track was called Rushed Progress, and it was by two composers, Masato Koida and Kento Hasegawa.
Rushed Progress. That sounds like the story of most AAA games these days.
Yeah, right.
Although I would say, from what I've heard, not the case for this game. I haven't played El Shaddai, but it's been on my list for a long time, and I actually keep forgetting about it until somebody mentions it. I'm like, I want to play that game.
So this is one of those games that is slowly rising in value.
Of course.
Because now everyone's turning their attention to anything and everything post or, I don't even want to say.
Gen,
yeah. Well, post-pandemic or during the end of, I don't know, whatever this is right now. El Shaddai is a pretty interesting game. I picked it up for, I think, maybe $14. Like, I got lucky, and I think I may have found it on, like, eBay. I think it was eBay. And it was one of those games I was like, I know nothing about this, but what I did know about it is that this game got spun off into another newer game called The Lost Child. And the reason why I started researching El Shaddai is because I was reading about Lost Child, which is a PS4 and Vita, and it's a Switch game too, I believe. It seemed like a really neat game, and so I was digging into it, and I was like, oh, one of the characters in the game was also in another game that it was spun off from, which was El Shaddai. So I started doing some digging, and I was like, you know what? This looks like a cool action game. I'm going to pick it up. It's done by one of the artists and character designers for games like Devil May Cry and Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, Okami. So his name is Sawaki Takeyasu. He basically wanted to make his own game, and he did. He got funding, and he started making this game. I don't want to get too much into the plot. It's very, like, biblical. It's inspired by the apocryphal Book of Enoch. And the character's name that you play as is Enoch.
Yeah.
So it's a platform action game, third person, and you play as Enoch. You get 3 different weapons that you can use. There's like a close range weapon, a long range weapon, and then a really slow weapon, but it's like super powerful. But what's really neat about this, which I felt like was kind of a throwback to Ghosts and Goblins, or, you know, Ghouls and Ghosts, is you get armor, and when you get hit, you lose parts of your armor. And you can get them back, but it's one of those things where, like, you could repair the armor. So it's a little different. It's not like, you know, find a treasure chest, open it up.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat. I have not played it either. It's on my list of games to play, my very, very long list. Let's talk about this track.
Yeah, I was going to say, the music is really good on the soundtrack.
Really cool.
This one in particular, I mean, aside from just like this bombastic score, those drums were really kind of keeping me interested the whole time. I really liked what was going on with those, like, and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, man. Love that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not usually a drums guy either. Like, drums are cool, and especially when they're interesting, like, I like them, but it's not usually the part of the song that I focus on. But in this one, they really kind of, like, drew my ear.
I think the big thing that I really liked about this track was that melody, the da-na-na-na-na-na, very Star Wars. I got a very Star Wars John Williams kind of aspect to it.
Interesting. I got more of a, like, Lawrence of Arabia, Middle Eastern vibe out of it.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Especially, I think maybe the instrumentation doesn't do its service to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just kind of sounds like it's more in the realm, at least I heard it more in the realm of, like, Star Wars, but I can see with the right instrumentation, you know, if there was more like brass, I think I think I could agree with you there. Yeah. So, right. But the rest of the music is pretty good too. I mean, it's all very, like, orchestral, you know, this kind of exciting type of orchestral action music. So if you like this, then you'll like the rest of the soundtrack. But for those of you who, you know, need a little groove or need, you know, a little bit more electricity, you may need to look elsewhere. So, yeah. Composers on this one, Masato Koida, started off doing Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams in '95. So they were doing, like, guitars and acoustic piano on that. And then at that point, they jumped full on into sound composition with games like Cyberbots, which is a cool Capcom fighter. Darkstalkers 3, they were the sub-music composer. And Devil May Cry. So they literally got the composer for the first few Devil May Cry games. Then it looks like they left, and they ended up doing Wonderful 101, and of course Smash Brothers. They did some arrangement on there, and even some stuff for Nintendo with Fire Emblem Fates. So they're still doing work. They are the composer on Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. So coming full circle back to our conversation about Ghosts and Goblins.
Wow.
So pretty neat. Kento Hasegawa started off in a similar fashion doing Resident Evil Outbreak File number 2 in 2004, and then doing the main game for that game as well. They continued working as an assistant composer for Devil May Cry 3 and Devil May Cry 4, and they also joined Masato in working on Project X Zone 2, which has a phenomenal soundtrack, before jumping into, again, Resident Evil 3, so coming back to Capcom to work on that, and then Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection in 2021. They seem to work pretty well with Masato Koida, so good stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's my first pick, and so we're going to go with Xenocrisis. This is a Genesis game that came out in 2019. It also came out on modern systems, Switch, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 in same year. This track is called Perimeter, Area 1, and it's by Savaged Regime. Welcome back to our Free Picks 4 Formageddon. That would have been good. Formageddon. The Fourth Unleashed. That was Xenocrisis in your face. It needs to be picked up off the floor and put back on because that was a face melter.
Seriously.
The Genesis game, which also came out on the Switch, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, which arrived in the year 2019. That track, which again blew your mind away and your face and your whole skull, was called Perimeter, Area 1, and it's by Savage Regime.
I don't believe you that this is on the Genesis.
I swear to you it is.
At the very least, there's no way it's on the Genesis and sounds like this.
Nope, it does. I swear to you this is the Genesis soundtrack. I have the game. We can play it if you want.
That's absolutely insane.
Right.
There's way too much going on in this song for me to believe that.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. It's 100% Genesis.
Then I have to ask to everybody who's composed for the Genesis in history.
I knew it was coming.
What the heck is wrong with you? You could have been doing this the whole time, and you chose to do that.
Yeah.
Aside from some of the Sonic music that I love, like nothing I've heard on Genesis lives up to this.
You
have ruined the Genesis for me. This is your fault.
We are diving back to episode 1.
Apparently.
All that progression that you've made for 80 episodes gone.
Out the window.
Out the window.
It's all garbage.
Now everything is twomp. Everything.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
So like this song blew me away like out of the gate just with like the super buzzy guitars in the opening, and I'm listening to them and they don't sound realistic per se, but I would believe you if you told me that almost everything in the song is being played on a live instrument and being put through some kind of a filter or something.
It's got a nice groove to it.
Yeah.
Nice, like almost like a new metal groove.
It's really chuggy, which is what I love super buzzy guitars and stuff, and super buzzy bass. But then like in the background of that opening, you've got those arpeggios that are going on, and they are very clearly chiptune-y.
Sure.
And I was trying for a little bit to figure out like what chiptune sound they were going for, and then I looked at the notes and I was like, it says Genesis, but okay.
This is like if like a groove metal or new metal band merged with an 80s synthwave band. You know what I mean? Like that's I would agree. That's the idea that I had listening to this. You've got those really twinkly like electronic keys, like do 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 do.
Yeah.
And then you've got that, as you said, the buzzy guitar, that really crunchy guitar. And I gotta say, the Genesis has crunchy guitar. If you listen to like Lightning Force, also known as Thunder Force 4, has got a really crunchy soundtrack. Battlemania de Ginjo also has a really crunchy soundtrack that sounds like this. But this just, as you said, unbelievable instrumentation and composition. And Savage Regime is more known for being like a YouTube remixer. He's done like a ton of like Genesis inspired like remixes and stuff. His stuff is great. I remember reaching out to Mike Tucker, who is the director on this, who had been in the game industry for like a long time, and this game was developed by Bitmap Bureau, which is a new company that formed basically to make retro games or old school games. And Xenocrisis was one of those releases that came out that just blew people away, like with the high quality that they did for this game. Which we'll talk about in just a second after we stop oozing over the music. But I reached out to Mike. I was like, hey, can we get Savage Regime on the show? And he was like, he's not a big guy to like do interviews. But he was like, I'll try, but I never heard back. But yeah. Also, I pitched a plot to them because they were like, I think he reached out to like people on the internet, and I was friends with him on Facebook. Like, I don't even remember how I became friends with him. But he was like, hey, does anybody have like any ideas or information or whatever, like anything to contribute towards the game? So I was like, so what's the plot going to be like? And he was like, well, I can't really discuss it. And I was like, all right, let me pitch you something. So my thing that I pitched him, because the only thing that we knew is that there are two characters, there were two soldiers. The whole plot of the game is you are these two soldiers, and one's a guy, one's a girl, and one kind of looks like Jill Valentine, the other one kind of looks like, I don't know, kind of a little bit like the Doom guy, a little bit. Doom guy with a helmet on, pretty much. And they're, I believe, going after a doctor named Dr. Herzog, and he is the main bad guy. But it is like kind of like Smash TV, where you're moving from room to room. Shock Troopers is another influence that they had for the game, along with aliens, because you are fighting, basically xenomorphs. So my thing that I pitched to him was, what if the two were husband and wife? And he was like, "That's a pretty good idea, but I think we're all good on the plot." And I was like, "All right, that's cool." I tried. Put me in the credits anyways. No. So, yeah, that is the story on Xenocrisis. It's a really, really cool it's like top down, like Smash TV kind of game. It's 2-player. It's balls hard, super hard. I don't remember how many levels there are in the game. I haven't gotten very far at all. Like, I'm maybe got 2 levels in, if that. It's so hard. But that is it. Savage Regime, this is his only game for credits currently, at least. Maybe he's working on the next Big Map Hero game. Who knows? Yeah. But this also came out on the Dreamcast, Linux, Mac OS, Evercade, and Neo Geo. But we just kept it simple this time around.
Yeah. So what you're explaining as far as the plot goes, this is not part of Xeno, the Xeno game, Xeno Saga, Xeno Gears, Xeno...
No, I know. That's super confusing. Yeah, Xenocrisis is not affiliated with any of those Xeno... Monolith...
I saw the name and then the systems that it was on. My brain didn't process the Genesis at first, and I was like, oh, is this like the next Xenoblade type thing? But clearly not.
No. Yeah, it's not made by Monolith Soft. Yeah, that's the name of it. Yeah. Let's move on to your first pick.
All right, this is going to be rather classic. I think we were talking about this game a couple months ago anyway in the Discord. This is Rad Racer. Came out in the arcade and on the NES in 1987. The track is going to be In-Game Tune 2, and it is by Nobuo Uematsu. Welcome back. That was Rad Racer on the NES in 1987. It also came out in the arcades. The track was In-Game Tune 2 by the world-famous Nobuo Uematsu.
Yes, indeed. I really don't have much experience with this game or the soundtrack.
Oh, no?
No. But this one, why'd you pick this one?
This one I picked particularly because the In-Game Tune 1 is a little bit more well-known.
Sure.
And that's actually what we had been talking about in the Discord. I had made the discovery, definitely not the first person to do so, but I was watching old Strong Bad cartoons, and I realized that at the end of the Japanese cartoon one, the 20XDX thing, the song that plays on the outro is just In-Game Tune 1 from Rad Racer, because I was like, this sounds so familiar, and I went and popped in Rad Racer, and it takes a while for the music to start up sometimes, but once it got going, I was like, I can't believe I've never noticed this. Like 10, 15, however many years, Homestar Runner has been a thing, and I never caught that.
Yeah.
So we talked about it and laughed about it a bit in the Discord, and then after that I started playing the game again because I just hadn't touched it in a really long time. It's not really a game that I would call like in my wheelhouse. Like I'm not really one for like Daytona USA or any driving games.
Yeah.
But this one, it's not. I mean, it's a racing game, but it's more of just kind of like a cruising game. Like you can lose obviously, but it feels more laid back than a lot of those other games.
Kind of like Outrun, maybe. A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just really interesting because like I'd played it way back, and I got it in like in a lot, I guess you'd call it.
Okay.
I didn't get it on eBay, but that Road Blasters and a third one that I can't remember the name of. They're all fun little things, and every time I look through my collection, I'm like, some of these games I don't really play, and I feel like I should get rid of them, and this is one of them. And every time I go to get rid of it, I'm like, no, because it's a Nobuo soundtrack, and the soundtrack's good, and the game's not bad. It's just not a game that I go to, and eventually that will probably override everything else, and I may get rid of it. At the moment, at least, like I do think it's a cool game. It's definitely still not a game that I go to frequently, but it's definitely worth playing. It's definitely worth listening to.
This is a pretty chill track for Nobuo. I mean, he is so well known for doing Final Fantasy soundtracks, so that when I hear him outside of the RPG realm, I'm just like, this is what he did? Really? Like, I don't know. I mean, he does a lot of really cool like rockin' type stuff in Final Fantasy games, but like nothing like this. No. So it's so weird to hear early Nobuo Uematsu soundtracks that are not Final Fantasy. Yeah. It's bizarre. He's been kind of in and out of doing composition. I think he did one recent game, and supposedly that's his last game, or at least that's what he has said, just due to health and stuff. So he's getting up there in age, and you know, it's kind of neat to look back on the beginnings of his career with games like this, and kind of spotlight tracks like this every now and then. This just didn't sound familiar to me at all. So when you were like, yeah, it's Rad Racer, I was like, it is? And I always get Rad Racer confused with Ridge Racer. So I had to stop myself from going, Rad Racer.
I'm happy to hear that, because I have that same thing.
Oh, do you?
I was actually going to do that on the intro, or on the coming back, and I was just like, no, I'll skip it.
Lost opportunity.
If I'd known you'd been thinking about it, I would have totally done it.
Get in my head, Charles.
You should have saved me when you had the chance.
You should have killed you. No, you couldn't. You should have killed me when you had the chance.
But that's get out of my head, Charles.
Oh, true. That's true. Yeah. But get out of my dreams into my head. Get out of my head into my dreams.
Ooh, okay, that's too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Nobuo, we've talked about so many times on this show, and I think almost every time I call out Rad Racer, just because.
Yeah, you do.
It's just one of the weird things that sticks out. I mean, almost everything else is RPG based, and even the ones that aren't RPG based are still based off of an RPG, like Ergites.
Yeah.
Say that right?
Ergites.
There you go. Okay. So Ergites, Chocobo Racing. So he has done other racing games, although
delicious.
I mean, he's credited for the original music on that. So maybe not so much.
No. Somebody else did the arrangements.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, just so much. And I think that game that you're talking about is Fantasian or Fantasian.
Yes, that is the newest game that came out. I believe this
2021.
Year. Yep.
That looks pretty wild. That's a Mac related thing. iPad, iPhone, Mac OS, and TV OS.
Yes, yeah, they struck some deal or whatever, I think. All right, let's move on to my next pick, Radia Senki Raimahan, also known as the Tower of Radia. This only came out on the Famicom in 1991, but it does have an English translation floating around, and there was a Nintendo Age cart, which I managed to pick up.
Oh.
Yeah. This track is called Ship, and it's by Keiji Yamagishi, Sugito Miyashiro, Kaori Nakabai, and Rika Shigino. Thanks for joining us back on our Free Picks episode, Fourth Unleashed. That track that we just heard was from the Tower of Radia, better known as Radia Senki Reimahan. This came out on the Famicom in 1991, though there was a prototype cart that was supposed to, it's like existed, so to speak. But I believe that the game got a fan translation, like a proper fan translation. This one was supposed to come out in the US, and it just never did. It's made by Tecmo. This came out in the Famicom in 91, and the track Ship was composed by Keiji Yamagishi, Sugito Miyashiro, Kaori Nakabai, and Rika Shigino. I really dug this track. It had a nice little bounce to it. Very fun and free. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I thought this was really bright and cheery,
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun just in general. Like, tracks like this are, I mean, they're usually just cute and boppy.
Very two-steppy.
Very two-steppy. This one actually kind of gave me vibes of like a late 80s, early 90s, like toy commercial.
Okay. I just picture like Molly Ringwald doing like the Breakfast Club dance to this. Da, 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 da. You know, she's doing that dance that she does in Breakfast Club when they all, you know, get wacky on tobacco.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that scene. Yeah. The one that they cut out of TV. That you didn't see your whole life until you saw it on like DVD or like VHS, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what? I always wondered why when they come back they're all friends. So, Tower of Radia, as we said, it was supposed to come out. It didn't come out. It is an action RPG very similar to like Zelda. It's made by Tecmo, and it's pretty neat. Basically, you are one of 5 characters that are trying to stop this guy, Gaddis, who's like this old political leader guy. He is trying to find the keys to Radia Tower so that he can, I don't know, wield superpowers and stuff. The first character that you encounter, he has amnesia. Shocker, RPG with amnesia, like lead character. But by the end of the game, he, gets his memories back.
That's good.
Yeah, spoilers.
I feel like they usually do.
Yeah, typically. He gets rescued by a character named Darius. There's also a female lead named Lephis, who's like a love interest to the main character. So, yeah, these are just a few of the characters that you encounter. There's airships. There's all sorts of really cool stuff. There's spies. It's pretty neat. I have not played this one other than just powering it on, trying it out for maybe 5 minutes or so, just because I was not prepared for such an in-depth game, so to speak. Musically, of course, this reeks of Tecmo Super Bowl, or for NES, Ninja Gaiden, and part of that is because of the composers. So Keiji Yamagishi, starting off with them, they started working on Star Force in 1985, where they did arrangement and sound effects. They were not credited for that. But then they started doing work on like the Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Baseball and all those types of games for Tecmo. And of course, Ninja Gaiden, credited for Ninja Gaiden 3, they are credited as a director. So I think they started doing more sound direction type stuff and less composition. But as the years went on, he ended up leaving shortly after Win-Back Covert Operations in 1999. That's right around the time when Tecmo was bought out or merged by Koei.
Koei,
Yeah, Koei. They did a few games, and then he ended up leaving to do Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles in 2007 for the PSP. His latest game is Streets of Rage 4. He contributed some tracks to that in 2020.
Nice.
Yeah. Sugito Miyashiro doesn't have as many credits and is not as well known. But Bad News Baseball was their first game in 1989, followed by the sound effects for Ninja Gaiden 2. Then they did music composition for Ninja Gaiden 3, and just continued working for Tecmo. Their latest game was in 2002, Super Shot Soccer. Kaori Nakabai is a pretty well-known name. She started off with this game as part of the sound unit credits. Then later on worked on Ninja Gaiden 3, Final Star Force in 92, Tecmo Super Bowl, Distrega, which was a cool PS1 fighting game. Worked on sound direction for Win-Back, and then left to do a bunch of games with Keiji Yamagishi. stuff like Gitaru Man. Final game they were credited for was arrangement for Wonder Boy Asha in Monster World.
Oh, is that
the one that just came out?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. I remember we were talking about that with Rhythm Pixels.
Yep, that's right. Rika Shigino is the final composer. Started off with this game, and then again did work on Ninja Gaiden 3, Final Star Force in '92, and then Tecmo Super Bowl in '93, and then they disappeared. So that is it, and that is all. Pretty neat game. Like I said before, I got the Nintendo Age cart fairly recently on eBay. I saw it when I was hunting for some other stuff and was like, ooh, I've heard of this game, but I've never played it, and it would be nice to own a, I don't want to call it an official cart, but it's more like a fancy repro.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Let's get into your next one. I'm actually excited to talk about this one.
No, right. So this is going to be the game Cotton, Fantastic Night Dreams. It came out originally in the arcade in 1991, and then also on the TurboGrafx CD and the Sharp X68000 in 1993. This is going to be track 17, composed by Kenichi Hirata. Welcome back to our Fourth Unleashed episode. That was Cotton, Fantastic Night Dreams, the 1991 arcade game and 1993 TurboGrafx CD Sharp X68000 game. Track 17 was the name of it, and Kenichi Hirata was the composer.
Indeed. I was digging this. I gotta say, though, Beat It, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
You didn't hear that?
No, I heard that riff, but that doesn't remind me of Beat It.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that Beat It? Yeah.
Maybe, but that's... See, that's the riff that I remember from Beat It.
Right. But then in the middle of the track, when they're about to fight, in the music video, because that's how a lot of times with like, I don't know if I'm the only person that does this, but you watch or you like reference old songs from like the 80s and 90s. A lot of times I'll be like, yeah, you remember that part in the music video? And I tell that to my wife, and she's like, I haven't seen the music video. I'm like, really?
Oh, well.
Because she never really watched MTV. So,
that's a problem.
Yeah. No, I used to watch MTV all the time. So like you would see like Beat It, for example, Michael Jackson, and there's the part during the knife fight in kind of the middle of the track, right before it, where the track kind of drops back down to just the drums, you know, and then they go Mr. Eddie Van Halen. So it was like it stood out to me, and the rest of the track I just couldn't pay attention to as much. I remember like listening to it and enjoying it, like from what I heard of it, but like it was all just very like arcadey Japanese kind of style, which is good. I'm not complaining about it, but like, man, that riff just burned into my memory.
Yeah, for me, I can't place it. Maybe that is it, and I'm just not able to make that connection. But to me, I feel like I remember it in more of a VGM connection. Like I feel like it came out of like a Mega Man X game or something like that. Like there's somewhere else that I know that riff from, and I'm gonna have to put this out to the listeners. Like where else? It's probably a fairly common riff in a lot of like rock music and a lot of things.
True.
So rather than saying tell me what I'm remembering this from, I want to know, what do you remember this from? Like if you recognize that riff, are you like Mike and you're like, that's totally Beat It? Are you like my dad and that's totally Eat It? Are you or is there something else? Is there a video game that has that prominently featured, or is there another song that you're like, oh no, it's totally this song? I legitimately want to hear. So either email us or put it in the Discord when this episode comes out, or on Facebook or whatever, because I'm curious what other people hear when they hear that riff.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the only other thing that I really have to say about this track is I love that little tambourine. It's not super prevalent, but it's very noticeable every time. It's just ching, ching.
I just picture one of the main characters from the game playing that tambourine. It's like a super cutesy, like cute 'em up.
Yep. It is a seminal cute 'em up. Like it is one of the big ones that a lot of people either say that they were influenced by, or just I think it was even named one of like the top something cute 'em ups.
Oh wow! Like this.
Retro Gamer regarded Cotton to be one of the key games in the cute 'em up subgenre, alongside Parodius, Fantasy Zone, Twin Bee, and Harmful Park.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to do a cute 'em up episode. So if you're ever interested,
we have that on the docket. We're supposed to do that with
Avalanche Jared.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to make that happen.
100%, I am down.
Absolutely.
Shoot 'em ups are so like, I like shoot 'em ups in general. Obviously, like Parodius would be my favorite shoot 'em up because I love Gradius, but like shoot 'em ups are just really neat and fun.
I want to shoot something, but I want to be cute
about it. Yeah.
I want to look cute while I do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want everything on screen to be saccharine sweet, and
bunnies
and
and kitties
cute.
and yeah, blowing them all away.
Yeah. So if you couldn't tell by that quick exchange, the entire Cotton series, there's a bunch of these games too.
Sure.
They are scrolling shooter games known as cute 'em ups, because everything in these is, well, maybe not everything. Some of the enemies are kind of weird looking, but the main character, Cotton, is pretty cute, and she is a witch named Nata to Cotton, who has a fairy companion named Silk, and they travel around fantasy dreamlike worlds on a quest to defeat monsters and get her willow candy. And there are some like it's more than just like a shmup game, because there's some like role-playing elements where you can level up your attack to 13 levels. It's not like those games where like there's 3 tiers of shots and whatnot. There's a lot more to it. Like most shmups, you die with one hit. I don't know if there are any shields like in Gradius and R-Type and whatnot, but you get hit, you die, and you lose a life, and then you start from the beginning of the level or a checkpoint. Not a whole lot to say, just because shooters are fairly simple. Like you go from left to right or bottom to top, and you just blow up everything along the way, pick up the power-ups, and win the game.
According to the Wikipedia article on this game, or on the franchise, Cotton has an addiction to something called willow, which is the stuff that you pick up.
Candy, yeah.
So now all I can think of is just like pussy willows.
Okay.
It's just like, I gotta get that willow, man. Give me that willow. She's just tapping her arm.
She just breaks off a branch and starts munching on the little buds.
It's interesting, though, because it was developed by a company called Success, and published by various different companies over the years. But recently, as of this year, there are, I believe, 3 Cotton games coming out. The first of which is a reboot, which just came out last month. We're recording this in July, so it came out in, I believe, June. And that's the Cotton reboot on the PS4, Switch, Windows, etc., etc. Yep. And then there's one coming out later this year. It's, I think, out already in arcades, but it's getting a PS4 and Switch port and Windows port. Cotton Rock and Roll Superlative Night Dreams. So that's, I think, a new sequel. And then there's another release that is coming out from PlayAsia, which is literally just ports of probably the more expensive Saturn games, along with another game that Success worked on called Guardian Force.
Yeah.
And that is Cotton 2 and Cotton Boomerang and Guardian Force.
Right.
Kind of neat.
And Guardian Force does not really fit the Cotton mold. I mean, it is a shooter, but I think it's a vertically scrolling shooter, and it is future sci-fi as opposed to the fantasy setting. So interesting game. I guess I'm not surprised that they didn't take the first Cotton along with the sequel and Boomerang, because the first Cotton literally got its own reboot. But there's a number of games to pick from. I'm surprised they didn't just pick 3 Cotton games.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre.
The Dreamcast one, Rainbow Cotton, that came out in 2000, like that. You go with like the 2 Saturn games.
One.
Yeah. And then Dreamcast, that would have made sense to me.
The Sega collection, if you will. Cotton herself has the attitude of, I guess you could say, like Lena Inverse from Slayers. So she's kind of like that, hot-headed,
yep.
right, personality. And she's another preteen redhead, so there you go.
Nice.
That's it. But it's, I don't know, the games look really fun. I'm going to have to pick up the reboot and see if I like it. And if I like it, I'll probably pick up the others.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's nice that these are getting re-released, because they're so expensive on the Saturn. I mean, you go to search for them and look them up, and they're just like hundreds of dollars. So it's really cool that we're getting these re-releases, so that way we can all play these games without spending a huge chunk of change. Yeah,
absolutely. I got to look for some of the stuff on the Switch, because that's probably where I'm going to play it.
Absolutely.
Kenichi Hirata has a handful of credits here. Started out on this one, actually, 1993, Fantastic Nights Dream Cotton, and then just did all the Cotton games, it looks like. Okay. They were Cotton and Hebereke.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we got Panorama
like
Cotton.
Like Hebereke Popoito, or?
And Popun.
Oh, okay, cool.
In 94.
Nice.
Hebereke is Popun in 94, Hebereke is Popoito in 1995.
Great soundtracks,
Yeah. I know we've heard some of those on this show before.
Yeah.
The Guardian Force game we just talked about came out in 1998. They were sound on that. And it looks like the last game they did music composition for was Rainbow Cotton on the Dreamcast in 2000. But they're credited for sound and music on a whole bunch of other stuff. And their most recent credit is actually for guitar in the Cotton reboot in 2021.
Nice, yeah.
So I guess they redid the music for that, which is awesome.
I haven't looked up much information on Success, but I believe that they are kind of doing what Natsume is doing, where they're taking like a couple guys who worked in the old school development house, like for example with Natsume, like Hiroyuki Watsuki, who's a great composer, and they're bringing all these guys back, and they're like, hey, let's work on some old games, let's kind of refresh them, bring them back to life, and re-release them in a modern format. And it's really exciting to see these developers release what is pretty much like director's cut versions of these games. So it's pretty neat. We're moving into some obscure Game Boy stuff. This is so obscure. So very obscure. This is another Bible. It's not a Bible game. Like, it's not like, I thought it was going to be like, hey, like, let's read the Bible together or something. But it's not. This game came out in 1995, so a pretty late release for the original Game Boy. This track is called BGM 05, and it's by Manami Matsume of Mega Man fame.
What?
Welcome back. That track that we just heard was Another Bible. That's the name of the game, and it came out on the Game Boy in 1995. This track is called BGM 05, and it's by Manami Matsume. What did you think of this one?
So I'm glad that you said that it was by Manami. I mean, obviously, we always introduce the composers, but when you said Manami Matsume, I was like, really? So I was listening, and I could kind of hear the Capcom-ishness of it throughout. I feel like that was pretty consistent. But what I was surprised to hear was a little bit of Final Fantasy thrown in.
Okay. Talking about like the little flourishes, like
yes.
Like that type of stuff?
100%.
Yeah.
Like the runs sound a lot like in Final Fantasy 1, either like when you cast magic or just some of the music in there. But even on an overarching level, like this feels like Mega Man music feels like stage music to me. Like it's always been very iconic of like you're getting through the stage, you're trying to get to the boss. And I mean, I don't know enough about this game, but if it's in the Mega 10 universe, I'm assuming that it is either an RPG or it is RPG-like. And those flourishes combined with the composition of the track itself has more of a sort of RPG feel to me, which is not something that I expect to hear from Capcom, because Capcom to me is usually like action games or fighting games.
Yeah. I mean, they do action RPGs and RPGs as well.
100%. But like when you say...
You don't think of Capcom.
Exactly. Like if somebody came to me and said, name an RPG publisher, the first thing I'm going to say is Square.
Square, right. Square Enix, Yeah, this one was interesting because it was developed by DICE, which is a development company, and it was published by Alice. So, yeah, and it's part of the Mega 10 universe, also known as the Shin Megami Tensei universe, which, I mean, this series is so big, and it's had so many huge offshoots, probably the most famous of which is the Persona series, right? So, this one, I think it's more like Shin Megami Tensei than Persona, I would say. So, the whole plot is there's this war between these humans and the demons that exist in the world, and after fighting a bunch, they decide they're gonna have peace, but now there's a demon cult that's rising up, and the demons don't want to be at peace with the humans any longer. So you play as a just generic hero, and you're helped by a generic heroine, and the heroine can talk to the demons and can persuade them to join your party and fight with you. So it's a little bit Pokemon-y, in that sense.
Monster collection, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. But I would honestly say it's probably more like Shin Megami Tensei, because I believe that's one of the key features in Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I know almost nothing about this franchise. It's just too big and too crazy for me to even deep dive in.
You know who we can ask?
Who?
Purnell.
Yes, Purnell from Rhythm and Pixels would definitely know. I feel like he's just waiting to bust in to this episode. Well, guys, actually, let me tell you. So, but yeah, so this franchise is just so massive and so big. I have not gotten up the courage to investigate it, but there was a recent trailer that came out for Shin Megami Tensei 5, I believe it is, on the Switch. Coming out. Yeah. And it was pretty much that, like collecting monsters or persuading monsters to join your thing. So pretty neat. There's also another like side series called Last Bible, which is also part of the Megami Tensei series. So pretty wacky. But the difference is that unlike most of the other Mega 10 games, this one is set in like a medieval kind of setting.
Okay, so it's not modern.
Yeah, it's like top-down Zelda style, like old school retro Zelda, or like Dragon Quest, that sort of stuff, or Ys or whatever. But then when you get into the fights, it's more like Dragon Quest, or actually I would say it's more like Pokemon, where one character's on one corner, the other character's on the other corner, and you got to fight. So, and that's kind of how it goes. Good stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. Minami Matsume, we talk about her now and then. She started off with the very first Mega Man game and then did the sequel as sound programming. That's her credit. Legendary Wings in 88, UN Squadron in 89, Final Fight, Mercs, Trip World. She moved over to Sunsoft to do Trip World with them. Then kind of worked on a bunch of handheld games for Sunsoft, stuff like Batman Return of the Joker. She's bounced all over the place. One of the more famous games that she worked on more recently was Dragon Quest Swords for the Wii in 2007, and then after that, a couple years passed, she worked on some tracks for Mega Man 10, and then Mighty Number 9. She was the lead composer on that, and then Mighty Gun Volt Burst in 2017. So she's still doing music to this day.
Very cool.
Good stuff, yeah. So let's move into your next game.
All right. Don't let the name of this one fool you or scare you. The name of this game is The Apprentice, and it came out on the CDI in 1994. The track is called Medieval Tower, and it was composed by Joost Egmond. Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was The Apprentice on the CDI in 1994. The track was Medieval Tower by Joost Egmond. Michael, how did you feel about this track?
Wow, Justin, that was really great, really grand. I just couldn't believe how great that was.
Oh, man.
Fantastic. We should just do the whole episode in transatlantic.
Oh, my. I don't know how long I could keep that up.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun actually with this one. The soundtrack on this game is surprisingly phenomenal. I say surprisingly only because I don't trust anything coming off the CDI.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Joost Egmond, good applause all around. Like, that was a 4-minute track for a CDI game where it actually changed things up throughout the entire thing. Like, it wasn't, there were like halfway through the song when it did the da-da-da-da-da-da, you were like, all right, there's the loop. And I was like, it's not over, Mike.
Don't even think about turning your ears off, Mike. It's not over. Yeah. Wow, that was amazing. Yeah. I really do feel like you picked that one for me.
I mean, I honestly didn't pick it just for you.
Right, sure.
But I definitely knew you were going to enjoy it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a sucker for PCM samples and anything with like sound effects in game music. So loved this. Just I really love the use of percussion, like not necessarily drums. I feel like there was like a very light drum set in there, a lot of like use of like the cymbals and just like bass drum, snare, like really simplistic stuff, probably used with like a brush instead of a stick. But I loved like the wood block, the DAT wood block.
DAT wood block.
And then like it sounded like sandpaper at one point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Good stuff. And then just like the car horn, you know, like and then like there was that other instrument that they got introduced that kind of sounded like a bird. Oh,
that was the thing that I said. It sounded like they made something sound twarpy in the upper register.
Right.
Upper registers.
Right. Yeah. Good stuff. What kind of game is this, though?
So this is a vertically scrolling, not shooter, but platformer. So the idea is you're trying to get from the bottom up to like the top of a tower in each level. And
sexy.
Yeah, it actually, again, I don't trust anything off the CDI, but this doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
It looks a little too smooth. It looks
cartoony.
Like it looks like 16-bit graphics, but it looks like really, really smoothed out 16-bit graphics. Okay. So I don't know about that, but it's such a weird, funky little game, and there's no way that I want a CDI for one game, but I might try to find a way to emulate and check this out. But the idea of the game is you are a young apprentice magician named Marvin, and you're given a series of tasks by your master wizard named Gandorf S. Wandburner III.
What?
Exactly. Each task requires you to start at the bottom of basically a tower and work your way up through obstacles and creatures and whatnot, and you just gotta get to the top without getting killed. And at the end of each of these stages, there's a boss that you have to fight in order to progress, and there are bonus stages in between some of the stages as well. So you got a little bit of Sonic in there, a little bit of Towers of Doom. It sounds like a fairly well thought out game for a poorly thought out system. The thing, before I get to Juiced, the thing that I thought was pretty cool about this game is one of the designers is Tim Moss, and if that name sounds familiar to you, then you are probably familiar with the God of War series.
Yes.
He was the lead programmer on pretty much all of them. He was director of technology on God of War Ascension in 2013. There's also a number of other games that he's done that I like Flower, Fat Princess.
Okay.
These are PS3 games.
Yeah.
Pixel Junk Shooter 2, Journey. He was a director of technology for that. Some really awesome games. And this was not his first. His first was A Prehistoric Tale in 1990, and then The Apprentice in 94. So, and then Alien Odyssey in 95. Like, so many good games by this guy.
This is supposedly one of the best games on the CDI too.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fact that we're kind of like sitting here going like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Like, it's you know.
Yeah, 6 out of 10 doesn't sound that great. 71% sounds okay, but then like 81%, 91 out of 100. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I can find a way to emulate this, I might give it a try, because it just sounds it sounds fun from the music, and it looks fun from the screenshots. So
Sure.
worth checking out. If you have a CDI somehow and you don't have this game, what are you doing? Get it.
Yeah, right.
It's the only game worth having.
For sure.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, but
Nope.
I don't know a lot of
Justin
CDI
said
stuff.
it. It's true.
Yeah.
100%. Put that on the box.
Justin approved.
Yep.
XVGM approved.
That's it.
And speaking of a lot of games, Juiced Eggman is credited for magical music in this game. That's his actual credit, and this is his only audio credit.
Oh,
only the
okay.
one game.
Well, we're going to move into a composer who is credited for a lot more, and that's Joris Deman, I believe is the pronunciation for that composer's name. This is a brand new composer that I've never heard of up until finding music for this. And part of the reason why I found it is thanks to your Apprentice game, as I said earlier. So it's kind of digging deep and found Tiny Toon Adventures Dizzy's Candy Quest, which I've never heard of. Is a European exclusive release, so this could have been on our PAL episode. Game Boy Color was the system, and it came out in 2001. This track is called BGM 04.
You're listening to XVGM Radio.
Welcome back. That was Tiny Toon Adventures Dizzy's Candy Quest. This came out in the Game Boy Color in 2001, exclusive to Europe.
Ah, okay, that explains it.
Or PAL regions. And this track, BGM 04 by Alberto Jose Gonzalez. Just kidding. Joris Deman. Wow. Blew me away, this one. I literally thought when I heard this, I was like, oh, wow. Alberto Jose Gonzalez is going by a different pen name.
Yeah, no, this was really cool. I liked the driving force of the entire song. Like the way that it just keeps going. And part of me was like, oh, there's a galloping bass in this. And then I was listening and I'm like, there isn't. But my body feels like there's a galloping bass and there isn't. So it's really strange and kind of cool that they can get that effect without actually using the technique.
I love the dance beat in this, and just the Game Boy drums on this are really like kind of fuzzy. You know, like, I don't know why, but this song reminded me of Cotton Eye Joe. Like the whole time I'm like, if you put the lyrics Like, where did you come from? Where did you get? You know.
Yeah.
Cotton Eye Joe. I don't know. It's just kind of popped in my head. It has that kind of hoedown kind of vibe in a lot of ways, but it just, man, it's got that Alberto Jose Gonzalez bounce, that European composer bounce that I love.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Good stuff. Tiny Toon Adventures Dizzy's Candy Quest is a game that was developed by a company named Formula. I guess they got a hold of the rights to do a game with the Tiny Toons license. And the plot of the game is Montana Max built this robot to steal candy all over the world for Elmira. I don't know, maybe he's trying to like woo her or something. I have no idea. But the robot was apparently not really good at its job. So what Montana Max did is, I guess, clone Hampton J. Pig, Sweetie Pie, Go-Go Dodo, and a bunch of other characters from the Tiny Toons world to try to get the robot back. And so you are playing as Dizzy Devil, who is working with the robot or trying to save the robot from being recaptured by Montana Max so he can reprogram him to fix him. So the game has 25 levels and 5 boss levels, so to speak, so I guess 30 levels in total. Passwords, so you can always get back into the game if you need to, but man, banger soundtrack, really good stuff. Game is not too expensive, probably run you maybe like $30 to $50, just because most of the copies that I've seen are on eBay, like international. So you've got to pay like maybe $15 for the game and then like $30 for shipping, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so, if it's a PAL only game, then we're not going to have it over here unless somebody makes. I don't know if you can do an NTSC conversion, how that even works. Anyway,
well, for Game Boy Advance and Game Boy, it was all region free.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Game Boy Color, Game Boy. Yeah, all that stuff was region free, so you don't have to worry about stuff like that with those types of games. But even if there was, there's ways to get around it. So, yeah. Pretty neat. Yeah, this composer, George Deman, they started off with a game called Crap Man, a game for real heroes. I swear that's the name of the game.
Crap Man.
It is a arcade style game that came out on the Atari ST. Yeah, Demo's Quest in '94, The Apprentice. Which he did sound effects for. Yep. Lucky Luke, he did the main game, not the Game Boy Color port, which was done by Alberto Jose Gonzalez, I believe. This game, he did a game called Black Belt Challenge in 2002 for the Game Boy Advance. Horizon Zero Dawn is his newest game. So he's continued to work. He did like Killzone Liberation. He continued to work with companies like Sony, and his most recent composition is for Horizon Zero Dawn in 2017. So kind of a big name just for that game alone. It's really cool to see composers that started off with the old stuff like this and then like kept going and kept releasing music for smash hits and stuff. So it's really cool to see that. Let's move into your next game.
All right, we're getting down to the end here. So this is going to be a game that we talked about somewhat recently with Pragmatic. This is Dragon's Crown, the PS3, PS Vita game for 2013, or the PS4 version in 2018. This track is Unavoidable Clash by Hitoshi Sakimoto. Welcome back to Revenge of the Fourth. No, the Fourth Unleashed.
Two different Star Wars references there.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. That was Dragon's Crown, the 2018 PS4 game, or if you prefer, the 2013 PS3 PS Vita game.
Or if you prefer...
No, I don't.
The PS4 Dragon's Crown Pro.
Right. And that track was Unavoidable Clash by Hitoshi Sakimoto.
Yes, this was good.
I agree.
Yeah,
I got very big Duel of the Fates vibes.
Yes,
in this track.
Get out of my head, Charles. There we go. Yeah, that especially that part, like right smack that part right there definitely got some major Star Wars vibes.
100%.
Good stuff.
I mean, this soundtrack, as we've spoken about previously, is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Sakimoto stuff. It's very, very bombastic. It's very in your face.
Super epic.
Very epic, as is the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked this one particularly because I've been playing more Dragon's Crown recently because you, me, Kevin, and our friend Nick started, getting into it and then getting to the point where we can play online. And lately, unfortunately, we haven't been able to play together because our schedules just haven't been lining up. Like, people are dealing with children and other stuff, so it's totally understandable. But once we are able to play again, I mean, I've played with you and I've played with Nick, literally just two-player both times.
Right.
But I'm excited to get, like, 4 of us into a game and just go and destroy things.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy just dealing with a new baby, so it's just been really tough to play really anything. Because by the time I get done with my day, it's late at night, and I'm just like, I just want to lay in bed and watch The Office. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was actually yesterday that I messaged the group. We have a Facebook group chat for this game.
For this game,
and it was like maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock, and I was like, hey, anybody playing? And I think around 9:30 or 10, you were just like, I'm going to bed.
I was like, I just got into bed. Yeah.
So no, it is what it is. We'll have time eventually.
Yeah, but it's been cool to dive into a game multiplayer with people. I think just canceled my renewal for PS4 or PS Pro. So I don't know, we may have to like make it like a monthly thing. Like, we pick a month and we're like, all right, this is the month, I'm gonna play it, I'm just gonna buy a month, because like I just don't play games online ever. So it's like one of those things, I don't download the free games. Like I'm like, why am I paying for this? You know what I mean? But
yeah, that's fair.
Anyways, yeah, great game. We talked about it quite a bit on the
Vanillaware with
Pragmatic episode. Yep. That was a lot of fun to do, and Pragmatic was an awesome guest.
Yep.
So
very knowledgeable about Vanillaware too, which is
for
great.
sure. Yeah, it's exactly why we brought him on. So we were like, we played Dragon Crown, but that's about it, and maybe like Odin Sphere once or twice. But yeah. So if you like this music that you heard, go listen to, I think it was episode 71 or 72.
That sounds about
fairly
right.
recently. It was
72. Yes.
72. So it was in the past like 6 months.
Yeah, and we've talked about Hitoshi Sakimoto in that episode
in depth,
and even in other episodes. So I'm not really gonna go through his.
Just check out his Genesis stuff, man.
Yes.
Oof,
yes.
So good. So good. Veritex, Gauntlet 4. He did some of the newer tracks for it. Like, oh my god, that stuff is so good.
Yeah. I definitely want to get into your next and last pick because this movie was fantastic.
Yeah, the movie was a fever dream, man. Like,
so was the game, actually.
For sure. This was Speed Racer, which came out on the Wii and the PS2 on 2008. Definitely the PS2 is the version to get if you're going to get a version. Not that the Wii is a bad version. It's just
the motion controls.
It's the motion controls.
Right. I had it on the Wii, and it was fun, but it was also frustrating.
PS2 version's the way to go, for sure. The track is called Zoom, and it's by Winifred Phillips. welcome back. That track that we just heard from was on the Speed Racer soundtrack based on the movie that came out in the late 2000s. The game systems were the Wii and the PS2, and that track was Zoom. It was a 2008 release, and the composer on that one was Winifred Phillips.
Yeah, this one was much like the game in the movie, a lot of fun. In particular, that super thick bass line, just kind of like going throughout the entire track, was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I also noticed like the little horn sections, really cool. It's been so long since I've seen the movie or played the game. I feel like there's a motif in there, like the theme song of the soundtrack is kind of hidden, or maybe not so hidden in some of those sections.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
It was way, way fun.
It reminds me a lot of like the 60s and that spy era, and the track constantly is changing, which makes sense. And I know you and I were talking during the break about spy motifs related to this track, and I think you said something about the spy motif makes sense based on, you know, what happens in the movie. Right?
Oh yeah, I mean in the movie, it's kind of in the cartoons too, but in the movie there's the whole part where, you know, the government is trying to get Speed and his family to help them take down this corporation that's making, you know, illegal cars with all sorts of tricks and stuff. So yeah, the spy theme kind of does make sense in the whole thing because, you know, Speed's trying not to get caught while also trying to gather evidence on these shady people.
There's also a part in the track that kind of sounds like synth bongos. You know that part? I mean, it sounds like bongos, but like there's like some sort of tone to them that makes them kind of sound a little echoey, almost like not tinny, but like there's some sort of like thing attached to them, you know what I mean? So that part in and of itself really stood out to me, but I really do like how the track changes throughout the entire, you know, go through. Yeah, it's cool.
What I like about it is that it brings me back to this game, and though I did own the Wii version, which is not the superior version, I did have fun when I wasn't being frustrated by the motion controls.
Sure.
I also feel like the Wii version looked a little bit better than the PS2 version, but unfortunately that doesn't win when it comes down to the controls.
True.
But what I like about the song, and what I feel like I remember about most of the music from this game, is that for one, it was fun, and for two, it kind of aided in the gameplay because it wasn't super, like, it's silly and it's wacky, but it's not like off the wall wacky and super distracting. Like, it's a little bit subdued, and it kind of helps you focus on the racing aspect. And I mean, I won't get too much into it because we'll talk about it a little bit later, but like one of the cool things that I liked about this game was the whole like focus mode, or was it focus or the zone? When you get into the zone, it's just like all the colors change, everything gets wild, like the movie, the live action movie, and it's so cool, and it's kind of hard to concentrate, but the music can kind of keep you in the zone, so to speak, because it doesn't distract from what's going on. Like, it kind of helps you stay in there.
Yeah, obviously, as you said, it's based on the live action movie. There are 20 different characters that you can pick from the film, but the PS2 version has 25.
Oh.
So that's kind of a bonus to getting the PS2 version. I really, truly feel like the PS2 version was the primary version of the game, and they just like, they did this a lot when the Wii was out. They were just like, the Wii is selling like gangbusters, let's just port the game over. We'll just take the PS2 version, which is the most compatible, and just port it over. So you know, that's...
Yeah, because I remember they did that with a lot of games. Even at launch, you had the DBZ Tenkaichi Budokai 4 or 3 or whatever it was with motion. Like they just, some games did it better than others. They slapped the motion controls into a lot of things, and sometimes it just didn't work, and sometimes it worked okay. I mean, the first few years of the Wii with the basic motion controls was kind of like Nintendo did it the best because it was their console.
Sure.
It wasn't until the Motion Plus came out that the motion controls were actually like decent all around.
True. Yeah. You know, it's
so good.
It's so crazy and awesome. But yeah, anyways, this game is it's kind of like F-Zero.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to like the F-Zero GX or, you know, F-Zero X. So it's very fast paced. The cars are really crazy. It's just like really neat. It's a fun game. So I think it's kind of underrated.
Absolutely.
And if you're one of those people who's been waiting for an F-Zero game for the past 20 years, you may want to check this one out because I think you'll enjoy it. Soundtrack-wise, done by Winifred Phillips, who composed all the music. Music was produced by Winnie Waldron. She has done quite a bit, actually. Started off with God of War.
Oh, wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah. Doing the soundtrack for that, and then moving on to games like some licensed stuff, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Da Vinci Code, Shrek the Third, etc., etc. And again, Speed Racer, and later on worked on games like Little Big Planet Karting or Little Big Planet as well. Okay. Continued working on the Little Big Planet series, and their latest game was Sackboy: A Big Adventure in 2020, nice. Where they're credited for a track called Waltz of the Bubbles. They're also they did a game in 2020 called Spider, and not Spider like the Barry Leach composed game that came out on the PS1. This one's Spyder. Oh, yep, made by Sumo Digital. So
very cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Neat composer that I've never heard of before, so it was cool to investigate this one.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar, but I wouldn't have been able to name anything that they did.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's it for me, but I'm very curious about your last track here.
All right. Well, it wouldn't be a Justin free pick if there wasn't something Gradius in there.
Yes.
So this is going to be from the Gradius Deluxe pack that came out in the PS1 and the Saturn in 1996. The track, as best I could figure, is G1 End, which is probably Gradius 1 ending 1. G1 End point 1 by Miki Higashino. All right, welcome back. That was our final track of this Free Picks extravaganza, the Fourth Unleashed. And that was Gradius Deluxe Pack on the PS1 and Saturn in 1996. This was specifically ripped off of the Saturn, but I'm fairly certain that the PS1 and the Saturn soundtracks are exactly the same.
Probably, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I really like this track.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like this is Gradius meets the ending of Final Fantasy IX. Not that you'd know the ending of Final Fantasy IX, but like piano. There's the ending song for Final Fantasy IX, Melody's Life. I mean, it's very orchestral, but there's also some really cool piano parts.
Yeah.
As a piano player, I really, really like things that will feature the piano, especially done well. And when you take one of my favorite songs from video games and do it on piano and make it sound that beautiful. This is the classic Gradius song.
Really
and
pretty.
It's just so nice and so smooth.
Yeah, just like a really pretty track. I would probably say this is my favorite of the ones that you've picked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, aside from The Apprentice.
Nice.
Good stuff, yeah. Gradius Deluxe Pack, though, I think, isn't it like Gradius 1 and like Salamander or something like that? It's like a mix of a bunch of different games, right?
It is. It includes the first two games in the Gradius series, so Gradius and Gradius 2 from 85 and 88, alongside some extras like some CG movies and some minor changes to those games to kind of update them for the PS1 and the Saturn. Not a whole lot of information as far as Wikipedia is concerned. Not a ton out there, but I mean, you go to the Gradius fandom website and there's a little bit more.
Yeah.
This only came out in Japan, and it was also released on Windows 95, apparently.
Oh.
But this is something that I would like to get my hands on. I know there was, or I feel like there was a Gradius compilation for PS2. So I know Gradius 3 was on that, but I don't think it goes all the way back to Gradius 1. So like that's something that I'd like to get my hands on.
Yeah.
And check out. I mean, it's not like I need to know Japanese to play it. There's virtually no text to read in the Gradius games. It's just go do the stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
What do I need to say about Gradius? It's a horizontally scrolling shmup, and it's one of the classics, along with like R-Type and, Proteus came way later, but...
Yeah. I would also like to track this one down, if not just to get this song.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool, like, versions of ports of games, of older games that got ported to, like, the PS1 and the Saturn, and they had, like, really neat arranged soundtracks or, like, bonus music that was included. One that comes to mind is the Ghouls and Ghosts and Ghosts and Goblins games all got ported as part of, like, a Capcom Generations disc. And that came out on the Saturn, and it had some really cool arranged tracks from the series, but it was kind of like bonus stuff that was just kind of added in. It wasn't like game music for like, they didn't rearrange the entire soundtrack, unfortunately. So I kind of found the tracks and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I need to buy this game. And I bought it on eBay and got it in. And I was like, wait, where was that awesome music? So it's in there. It's just you can only listen to it in the game.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is the same sort of situation. I think that this was menu music that they created specifically for this rendition of the game. Like, I think this is like when you get to the main screen, you get to pick which game you want. And I think
this song?
Yeah.
No, this is the end, the credit roll for,
it is?
For Gradius
Okay.
1.
Oh, okay. But like what I'm saying is, did they rearrange all the music for this game?
I think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's really
if
cool.
you go to KH Insider and check out the soundtrack for this game, I mean, it's kind of a mess on the website, but it's also anywhere you go. I'm pretty sure they were all ripped by the same person. But yeah, whoever ripped it, I feel like there was one person that ripped it, and that's where it is everywhere. And the names are kind of a mess because they're pulled from the name files. Like, I get it. I'm not knocking the person who did it. It's just, I'm guessing there was no like official OST released, and so there was no just renaming the files.
Somebody
like,
just ripped
it. What they were.
Put it up, right. That makes sense.
So,
yeah,
but really cool. The soundtrack itself is pretty cool. It's not all piano music, but there's a nice mix, and it's all the music from the games just arranged. So
cool.
This composer, Miki Higashino, started out doing sound editing in Life Force in 1986, went on to do music composition in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 1989. That's technically Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game.
Yes.
And then did sound editing in Gradius 3, back to music composition in Contra 3, the Alien Wars in 92.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and then just a couple more here that I want to point out. Suikoden in 1995.
Suikoden.
Yeah, I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable sometimes.
Syllable.
Yeah. Suikoden in 1995, they're credited as original staff music compose. And then Suikoden 2 in 1998. And then the last credit here is in 2005 for 10,000 Bullets.
Nice. That is our Free Picks episode. That was a lot of fun, and we picked a lot of really good music. So, Justin, what is your favorite of this episode?
So I'm actually torn between your Xenocrisis track and my Apprentice track. I think your Xenocrisis track wins out just because it was very surprising and had a lot of really cool things that I really enjoyed right off the bat. But my Apprentice track was just fun and wacky, and I legitimately enjoyed that one. And then obviously the Gradius track that we just played. But no, above all else, that Xenocrisis track was just hard rocking, and also completely blew me away that track exists on the Genesis hardware as we heard it. So
I know. Yeah, good stuff. I was also very torn on what to pick for this one because I picked a lot of good stuff. You picked a lot of good stuff. And I think your Gradius track really caught me by surprise, and I really liked it. But, man, I got to give it up to my Tiny Toon Adventures Dizzy Candy Quest track just because I found it and was like, oh my God, there's another composer that sounds like Alberto Jose Gonzalez. I was just flabbergasted. Xenocrisis, again, as you said, was just phenomenal. That's such a good banger of a track.
Yeah.
But The Tiny Toon track, I think, caught me by surprise the most out of anything. Because I knew about the Xenocrisis track.
Right.
So it was one of those like, hey, I want to pull this out to show Justin how cool I am.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And how about you, the listener out there in listener land? What is your favorite track? Did we play anything that you thought was entirely offensive? Did we play anything that you thought was
The Apprentice track?
Well, if you thought that was offensive, I'm sorry to tell you that there's going to be more in the future. So.
Yeah. Oh, the Speed Racer track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what did you like? What didn't you like? Let us know as usual in the comments on our Discord, on Twitter. Send up a signal flare, shoot a spaceship into the atmosphere with writing on it. Whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Just make sure that you let us know.
Free picks is just so much fun to do because it's like you have no limits. You have nothing preventing you from picking a track. So it's literally just like, hey, let's just pick a bunch of awesome music.
Yeah.
So
Virtually no research needs to go into the episode.
Right.
Like I still do a little bit because I try to spread my free picks out because if I didn't, it would basically be all like one or two systems.
True.
So I do spread things out a little bit, but in general, it's just like, what do you like?
Yeah.
So
I think we had a pretty good like mix of stuff.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. So we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Alex Messenger, Cam Worma, Chris Hart, Dan Lawton, Jordan and Anson Davis, Rage Cage, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Scott McElhone, Chris Myers, The Autistic Gamer 89, Bedroth, Brad Austin, Chris Murray, Jeremy Rutz, Llama Adam, Marcus Stewart, Nathan Cooper, Nick Davis, and Ryan McPherson.
If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/XVGM Radio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you at the end of the show and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
If you've liked what you've heard, please consider giving us a review on iTunes.
You can join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at facebook.com/groups/xvgmradio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks or just talking about the podcast itself.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle on both of those sites is @XVGMRadio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links will be in the show notes.
All right, Justin, so we are still somewhat on hiatus, so to speak. We are chopping our workload down to one episode a month for the time being. We'll be back in full gear, hopefully in September.
Yep. September should see us going back to releasing an episode every 2 weeks, and the first episode that you're going to hear in the month of September is episode 81. It's going to be another same song, different system. We haven't done one of these in a while, but this is going to be consoles versus handhelds. So we're going to be finding tracks and games that were basically the same across the console version and the handheld version, and we're going to be playing you music to compare, what changed, what was improved, what may not be quite as good. You always get a little bit of oddness when you go between like a handheld system and a full-on game console. So I think it's going to be fairly interesting, and it's going to be, as always, a lot of fun.
All right, so we'll see you in 1 month. This is Mike
and Justin
signing off for XVGM Radio. There's an Easter egg in this game, apparently, where if you kill a monkey in a certain pattern, there's apparently a bunch of nude sprites of women just pop up randomly, which is definitely not,
not family friendly.
Not family friendly at all, which is funny because this game is very cartoony and it's labeled for kids. So that is a thing that they put in the game, which definitely nobody caught. Whoops.
Slip that one past the
That's it.
The censors.
That's right.